Hello there, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. So, in my previous video about Wicca and witchcraft and the differences between them, I mentioned my tradition and some of the things that we touched on with that. I wanted to give you a more in-depth look into my actual Wiccan tradition that I am a member of, and just give some general information on that for those of you who are curious. I want to just give the caveat first off that I am not revealing anything which is oath-bound. So any of you who might be like, ugh, you know, just simmer down. All of the information that I am revealing is publicly available either on the Wikipedia about Blue Star or on the actual Blue Star Foundation website. I will give a link to that website for those of you who are interested and want to pursue further information. So my tradition is Blue Star Wicca. We are a Wiccan tradition. We have very loose ties through some of our original initiators to Gardnerian craft, Alexandrian craft, American Welsh tradition, and Northeast American trad craft. We like to call ourselves a centuries-old tradition that was founded in the 1970s. We are a little tongue-in-cheek about that. It is okay. You know, we know that we're not like this ancient established religion. We can poke fun at ourselves. We like that. We were founded in the mid-1970s. Originally, we were called the Coven of the Blue Star. We were admitted into Covenant of the Goddess sometime in the late 1970s, I believe. But the High Priest and High Priestess of the Covenant of the Blue Star in the 1980s were folk musicians. They traveled the Ren Fair circuit widely. And they started their little teaching circles basically everywhere they went. Those teaching groups eventually became covens in their own right. And at that point, Blue Star became a tradition and not just a single coven with a dozen locations. All of our groves and covens are autonomous. That means that the third degrees that run the coven and grove run them independently, and they answer only to themselves. However, we do keep close ties with each other. There's been a Blue Star newsletter that we used to keep tabs on each other since the 90s. Back when the newsletter was an actual letter that you got in the mail. We've had family gathering on and off semi-regularly since that time as well. It's literally like a big family reunion, only the family in this case is Blue Star. And we do consider the tradition as a whole to be our family. Just an extended family. And of course nowadays, you know, thanks to internet and technology, you know, we have forums through our Blue Star Foundation website. We have a Discord server, private Discord server that we use to communicate with each other. And we have semi-regular Zoom discussions on different aspects of our craft. So we keep in touch with each other pretty well, and there's a whole lot of cross-pollination of ideas between us. So even though we're all independent, we're all sharing with each other all the time. Like a lot of other Wiccan traditions, we do follow the Wheel of the Year, and we do have an inner and outer court system. The outer court is basically the grove, and the inner court is the coven. Unlike Gardnerian and Alexandrian craft, however, we place our altar in the center of our circles, and the altar is round for reasons. It's my understanding. I'm not a Gardnerian or an Alexandrian, so I can't speak to it personally, but I've certainly read books by those people in those crafts, and it's my understanding they place their altar on the edge of the circle. Ours is dead set in the middle. It's the focal point of our ritual. We do sing most of our liturgy, which is definitely something that is unique to Blue Star. We have our own music. Obviously, this harkens back to our, you know, High Priest and High Priestess who were folk musicians. They wrote a lot of the music that we use in circle, but we've since expanded our repertoire and, you know, have borrowed and rewritten music from other sources as well. But we do sing a lot of our liturgy. And for us, singing is one of the main ways that we raise power in the circle. We do have a 5-degree system. Most others have the standard 3 degrees, first, second, and third. We expanded on that, where we have 2 degrees that come prior to first, second, and third. So our first, second, and third degrees are our inner court. They are the initiates. They are members of the coven. The two other degrees, technically only one of them is part of the outer court, but in most practical cases we treat both of them as outer court. And those are the Grove members. So outside of the first, second, and third degree initiates, we also have Neophyte. Those are the folks who are in training to become an initiate. They get their own rite of passage, and they are kind of set aside from the standard, recognition. They give that extra recognition that they are on the path towards becoming a full-fledged priest or priestess in the craft, or priestess, because we do recognize that as well. And then, of course, the other one that we have is dedicant, and dedicant is sort of the laity position. A dedicant is someone who we recognize as a member of Blue Star. They are part of our Blue Star family, but they do not have any obligation to actually pursue the priesthood if they choose not to. They are welcome in all of our circles, but they do not have to have any obligation towards actually, leading a grove or coven, or doing teaching, or running ritual, or anything like that. So, as far as I know, Blue Star is pretty unique in that we make a place for those people who want to be part of something, but don't want to actively run things. So, so we make a place for them, and that's dedicant. I am currently a dedicant, but I am hoping to get my Neophyte rite of passage sometime this year. COVID allowing, because yeah, it's been something I've been working towards for a while now, and it's definitely something that I want to pursue. So one of the things, of course, a lot of you have noticed this on some of my previous videos, is my septagram pendant. Blue Star uses the septagram as a symbol of our tradition outside of the more commonly used pentagram or 5-pointed star. We use the 7-pointed star. That septagram, the 7 points of the star, represents our 7 tenets of faith that we follow in our tradition. Those tenets being balance, harmony, humility, tolerance, learning, trust, and reincarnation. Those are the things that we try to live and embody in our lives as members of Blue Star. Especially important for those who are seeking initiation. Another thing that's probably unique to Blue Star, again, I can't really speak for other traditions because I'm not a member, but we do have 8 paths of power like a lot of other traditions do. Our paths are probably different from some of the other traditions, but we do have 8 because that's the traditional number. What's different is that we actually tie our 8 paths of power to the 8 Sabbats. It just seemed like a natural thing to do. I've actually asked if anyone know where that came about, and haven't gotten any answers. Nobody can seem to trace it back far enough to figure out when that came a thing, but it makes sense that because the 8 paths are they're skills, and they're not really skills that you ever truly master. They always need work, so tying them to the Sabbats, that cyclical wheel, kind of reminds you that sometimes you need to go back and revisit these skills and brush up and learn more. So I think that was a really cool thing that we do. Definitely seems to be different from a lot of other traditions in tying that 8 paths to the 8 Sabbats. So, and again, that fits in very well with the whole theme of Blue Star in that we are a teaching tradition. We always say that we are a teaching tradition. We are probably one of the most stringent in our learning requirements. I have actually heard it said that a 1st degree in Blue Star is equivalent to a 3rd degree in a lot of other traditions, simply because we are so rigorous in our requirements for teaching. And a lot of this just comes down to practicality. There are a few groves and covens out there who have an ample, complement of initiates, but a lot of us do not. The grove that I am a member of, which now finally has a coven, for the longest time we only had 1 initiate, and she wasn't even a 3rd degree, she was a 2nd degree. So they relied on us as dedicants and neophytes to kind of fill in the holes a lot and do things that otherwise initiates might otherwise be doing. So even before I was a dedicant, when I was still a seeker, I was learning how to be an officiant in ritual just so I could fill in the holes as they were needed, because not always, you know, we couldn't always rely on all the 4 people that we needed to be there all the time. And that's a lot of work. So we are, all of us, trained in how to be an officiant and run ritual. All of us know how to fill in any of the ritual roles that are needed. And those are all things that, like, normally you would learn as a first degree. I was learning as a seeker. Now, as a seeker who was, like, definitely gung-ho and was definitely going to take dedication, but still, like, even as a dedicant, I'm basically functioning as pretty equivalent to a first degree in a lot of other traditions. So, yeah, we're definitely a little more advanced in how we train people and how we get people up to speed. But again, just a matter of practicality. So, last thing I want to mention, Blue Star is always evolving. And I know that a lot of other traditions are doing the same thing as well. It's not just Blue Star, but Blue Star is the one that I have personal experience with. A lot of the things that you hear about, a lot of the heteronormativity that is present in traditional Wicca, Blue Star is actively trying to break that down piecemeal. Just bit by bit, taking it apart and putting it back together in a way that is not penis and vagina. So, because we have numerous initiates who are queer, they are ace, they are trans, they are non-binary, and that symbolism just does not work for them. So we've been actively working, not just in my grove, but in other groves and covens and just as a tradition as a whole, to kind of, you know, break that apart, pull out what works, rework it, and put it back together again in a way that's not just the penis goes in the vagina. So, so I just wanted to mention that for those of you who are leery of Wicca because of the, you know, that whole, you know, great right symbolism thing. Like, that's not how a lot of us do it anymore. So I just wanted to let you know, we are super supportive of our LGBTQ, etc. folks. So if you're looking for more information on Blue Star, of course, as I mentioned before, I will be providing links to the Blue Star Foundation. They do have a map there. I don't know how up to date it is, but it is fairly up to date on the locations of the currently active Blue Star groves and covens. We are really only active in the United States as of right now. So if you're outside of the United States, I can't help you, sorry. Even in some parts of the United States, we're pretty scant. If you're in Minneapolis, lucky you, because you have a choice of Blue Star. That is our swirling vortex of milk and honey right there. But we're scattered around elsewhere, and we do have a few independent practitioners who originally had ties to covens and groves that are now moved away for reasons, and sometimes they're willing to take on a few students, sometimes not, but at the very least, you know, it's worth looking into. You might luck out, you never know. But I will share that information with you, of course, as I mentioned, in the link down below. That's all I have. So I hope this video finds you well. I hope that you are inspired to learn more, and maybe the situation will come that's the right place and time that you'll find your way to the tradition the same way that I did. But until then, hope this video finds you well, and I will see you again soon.